Yeah, good morning. Can you see the slides now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. Okay, now let us review what we discussed in the previous class a little bit, then we can continue our subject. And mute your mics, and in case you have any query, you can unmute and ask the question. No problem. Okay. Now, this is the introduction class to computer network. That's what we discussed in the previous class, but let's just review it again. So, what is network? Network is interconnection of some devices. So, those devices we call nodes and vertices, and the lines connecting these nodes are called lines, channels, links, or edges in it. And when these devices are computing and communication devices, then we call it a computer network. And computers can be placed nearby to each other, or they can be spread across over a larger area. So it doesn't matter, but as long as they are interconnected, they are able to communicate each other, we call it a computer network, because all the devices are able to compute and communicate each other. And examples we have seen, and these interconnection links or channels can be wired or wireless. The example of wired connection is shown here, you can see that. And there are not many advantages are there. Uh, just 1 minute. Okay. Yeah, there are not many advantages are there with the computer network. That's why we go for networking of these computers. And this first, some of the examples we'll see are advantages. Sharing of hardware, like scanners, printers, there are expensive devices, and they are scarcely used by any single person. They are not used fully. So that's why normally we go for uh, interconnection of these or network connection to network to of these devices, scanners and printers, so that they can be shared by large number of people. The cost of that can be spread across all these users, so that they become cost effective. That's the advantage of it. Similarly, accessing data, as we all do nowadays, we access a lot of data available on other computers connected to the network, and retrieve the data for various purposes. Internet is one such network, right? And similarly, we can also use network for sharing software applications, software packages, like payroll package or medical application package. Nowadays, many applications are running on a centralized system, and the clients or people who are subscribed to that can log into that and execute that execute those software using their data and get the results back to that. So that way they are sharing these software resources where which are centralized on time or volume basis, so that their usage cost will come down very significantly and becomes cost effective. So that's another advantage of this one. So because of these things, we go for networking of computers. And here what we are transferring through this network, data. So that's why we call it a data communication network. So the process is called data communications. Data is what, when information, what we have, that's what we are communicating to one computer to another computer. So that information can come in different forms. It may come as a audio, text, video, image. So there are some of the forms which we are familiar. But these computers follow the binary representation. We convert all this information into binary. So once they are converted to binary, they become uniform. So we can multiplex and send the data to the end systems, and at the receiving end we can demultiplex it, and once you demultiplex, separate this data to each of different types, then they can be reconverted back to original form of that. So that's how the whole process happens. So since this process, entire process is being done using the data, so we also call it a data communication. The network can be a data communication network. So now, what are these components, major components in the computer network available? And data represented we have seen already just now. I told data can be originated from text, audio, video, and different forms. So they are converted to binary and transmitted. Now, what are these different components of network? You need sender and a receiver. These two parties are definitely required. And similarly, you need a link connecting these two, which can carry the information, right, or data. So that we call it a medium. So this medium can be wire or it can be wireless also. And then second, next component is, what is that we are transferring data? This data is called message. So message is being communicated from sender to receiver. Similarly, when we are transferring this message, to make it more meaningful and can be understood by receiver, so these sender and receiver have to follow certain handshaking mechanism. Then only it becomes meaningful to each of them. Otherwise, it becomes really very confusing and awkward. So this handshaking mechanism is.
Sir,
Yeah, tell me.
we are unable to see your screen, sir.
You're not
We
able
are
to.
unable to see your screen, sir.
Just 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 minute. Can you see now?
No, sir.
No?
No, sir.
Yeah, now?
No, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
right?
sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. So, this, yeah, we are talking about computer networks. So, computer network is a network of computers, computing and communicating devices, right? So, we have seen the computing, this network can be these computers, which are network, can be closely placed to each other, or they can be spread across larger area, and the connectivity can be using a wire or wireless, any of them. Okay. Now we have discussed about advantages of these computing networks. One is sharing of hardware resources for cost effectiveness. Similarly, accessing data available on a remote systems, retrieving the data or uploading sending data. Again, for you could say um, sending or sharing with large number of people, right? Or it can be, the network can be used to share software resources which are expensive on volume or time basis, so that again these resources also, because they are expensive, they can be made cost effective by sharing by large number of people to the network. Okay. Since we are communicating this data or information which is represented in the binary form, which we call it a data, we call this process data communication, and the network data communication network. Okay, so the information can come in several forms: text, audio, video, email, different forms. But we convert all of them into binary, then if required, multiplex them and send it. At the remote end, again demultiplex, separate them, and again to restore them to original form of it. That's how the whole process takes place. And now in this case, we have seen the components of computer network. So main components are sender and receiver. Two parties are required to communicate. Similarly, you need a link between connecting these two. It can be wired or wireless. This link is called a medium. This medium can be wired or wireless, any of them. And the information or data which we are they are communicating, sender and receiver, is called message. So message is another component. Now, for exchanging this message meaningfully, the sender and receiver have to follow certain handshaking mechanism. So otherwise, they will not be able to understand each other properly. Like both of them having the same language, and both of them have following the same protocol when to send, or how much time to wait before sending the next packet of or message, something like that. These are called handshaking mechanism, or technically it's a protocol. So we need sender and receiver, medium, and message is the exchange there, and a protocol is followed to exchange this message. These are the various components of any data communication network or computer network. Then the flow of the data, how modes of data, how they can communicate with each other. And this, of course, we have already studied in the previous classes, but just review it once again. Simplex, half duplex, full duplex. Simplex is there will be one sender and one receiver. Receiver or multiple receivers also, but sender is sending and receiver is always receiving it. So that means the role of both of them are defined, well defined. Transmitter is transmitter, receiver is a receiver only. They cannot change their role. Similarly, and when it comes to the next type of mode, is a half duplex. Here, sender and receiver both can act as a transmitter and receiver, but in one act as one of them as at any point of time. That means a station can work, node can work as function as transmitter and receiver only at any point of time. Okay, so that way, but both can act, both of them, and on turns. So that is called as a half duplex communication. And further improved one is full duplex, where each station can work as transmitter and receiver simultaneously. While it is transmitting, it can also receive numbers. So that type of communication, we call it full duplex. Now, as we have seen already, the network will have nodes and links. These links also called edges, and nodes also called as vertices. Okay, and all these nodes are computing devices, computing and communicating devices. Okay. Now, coming to this network structures, how this network can be set up or physically connected. So there are different ways of defining this. That is one way type of connection. Either it can be point to point, that means one transmitter and one receiver, they can be directly connected to each other. So that we call it a point to point. So that means one point to another point communication. So another type of connection is multi-point. That means one point to multiple points. So there will be one transmitter. Receiver can be more than one. So in such cases, we call it a multiple connection or multi-point connection. Similarly, the data flow from in the network, okay, from sender to receiver, can be in different forms. Whether it's take it a physical flow of the data or logical flow of the data. When you look at that, there are different types. Those are called topologies. Those are called topology. Topology is the way the data flows among these computers. Okay, through, of course, they flow over the channels and links only, but how these devices are interconnected. So that we will see. There are different types of topologies. But before that, let's see one more type of or classification of this transmission. That is unicast, multicast, and broadcast. Unicast is always from one source to another receiver. Okay, so that means you have a source and you have the receiver together. In such case, it is called as a unicast. Another type of case transmission is called multicast. That means one transmitter to multiple receivers, but these multiple receivers are authorized by the transmitter to receive it. So example is our WhatsApp group itself. When we form the WhatsApp group, somebody is saying it, all the people who are registered or members of that group only can receive it, right? Next class of this is broadcast. Here, when somebody is one transmitter is transferring it, any receiver which is capable of receiving it, which are tuned to that or connected to that, will be able to receive it. It need not be a member of that. There is no predefined membership. So anybody who is capable of receiving it will be able to receive it. Like our free TV channels. So once you tune to that frequency with the TV receiver, yes, you will be able to receive it, right? Whereas all subscribed channels are like a multicast. People who are subscribed to that only can receive it. Unicast is, it is a one-to-one communication. Okay. Now let's look at topologies. Okay. These examples you can see, that is a point-to-point and multi-point connections. Point-to-point is one-to-one. Multi-point is one transmitter and multiple receivers. So because they are all connected to a same link, all of them can receive parallelly at the same time. Now topology. These are different types of topologies. Normally you come across mesh, star, bus, or ring. Okay. Now let's see each of them, how they look like. So mesh topology is where every station is connected to every other station directly, or every computer is connected to every other computer in the network directly. That means you have direct links from every station to every other station. You can see here, like so, from here to here, here to here, here to here, here to here. Like so, major advantage of this is, in case this station wants to communicate with this link has failed, but it can reach through indirectly through this station, right? Or through this station, or through this station. There are several routes available in case direct link fails. So that is a major advantage of this. But what is the disadvantage? You see the number of links. There are too many. In fact, if you calculate, it becomes n multiplied by n minus 1 by 2. So it becomes very expensive and very complex to maintain it. But when you come to the next type of connectivity, that is a hub, star, we call it a star network. Here there will be central hub, we call it central station. This is called as a hub. So all the stations are directly hooked up to this. So if any station want to communicate other stations, first send the transmit to the hub. Hub in fact it relays to concerned station or to all of them, either it is unicast or broadcast, multicast, based on that. So always it goes through hub. So this becomes a critical element. If this fails, the entire communication has failed. That's a major disadvantage of this. But advantage is it's very simple to establish this network. Now coming to next type of topology, that is bus topology. Here there is a link here, like a bus route, road, and all of them are connected to this bus. Okay, so any station can transmit or others can receive it if they are capable of receiving it, depending on either multicast or broadcast, based on that. Okay. Now the only restriction here is because they are all connected to the same bus. If more than one station transmits at the same time, there will be a clash of data. Totally becomes a garbage. It becomes meaningless data. So that's why you need very good coordination among these stations. Who is going to send at any point of time? Okay, and the receivers, once he transmits, other receivers, maybe one or more, can receive it. So that is the main drawback of this. Only the good coordination is required among these stations, so that one at a time can transmit. Okay, but otherwise it is again simple to establish network. Now another form is a ring, where each station is connected to two other stations, one in a forward direction, one in a reverse direction. So it's here, forward, reverse, something like that. And the total thing becomes a ring. Okay, so it's a closed ring. So here again, main issue is only one station can transmit at any point of time. If more than one, again there will be clash of data, it can be meaningless transmission. So only one can transmit at any point of time. Again, if any link breaks somewhere here, there will be all the stations will not be able to receive it. Only some stations which are connected till that point, they will be able to receive the transmission. So those are some of the advantages, disadvantages of these different topologies. But in a practical environment, you don't find normally any single type of topology commonly. You find a hybrid of them or combination of these two. Okay, two or more different types. So different places you will find. So I mean, this is one example where bus topologies are connected through a star. Okay, so this is an example. Like that, you can imagine any type of topologies, hybrid topology. Now coming to classification of these networks, based on the area covered by the network, we can classify them into different types: local area network, wide area network, metropolitan area network, personal area network, body area network, home area network. These are all classified based on the coverage of the network. Local area network, which you are familiar with the name. So this is an area which are administered by a single authority, like our college. So you can find a LAN in the DSP lab, another LAN in microprocessor lab, another LAN in VLSI lab, like that. So there can be several LANs in the same place, or it can be unified, a single LAN also in the entire organization. So those are called LAN. But similarly, wide area network, which spreads across larger area, maybe in a region wide, or state-wide, or country-wide, or even global-wide. So those are called wide area networks. I mean, examples are our telephone number, our these mobile networks. They are covering larger areas, right? They are wide area networks. Metropolitan area network comes in between this local area network and wide area network, which spread across over a city. Then we call it a metropolitan area network. Then personal area network. This is, as the name indicates, the network of devices belonging to a person, like our computer, laptop, mobiles. These are things which are belonging to a single person. If we are able to communicate each other, network and communicate each other, then we call it a personal area network. Next is body area network. So this network formed by interconnecting devices over a body of a person. Whereas personal network need not be over the body, they can be belonging to the person, but they play somewhere. But here in the body area, they are all placed over the body of a person, like Bluetooth we use normally, or pacemaker controllers, or nowadays many patients are wearing a device, small capsule of the thing which can monitor the blood pressure or heart this thing operation, or even other cancer this thing or such a thing. I mean, based on the status of that, they can release amount of this medicine. So such devices are available. Another example is a soldier. Soldier can wear different type of device over the body which monitor his health conditions and report back to the central station, so that central station can keep monitoring the health of the soldier and the status of the soldier, and if required, any rescue operations can be taken up. So this body area network also is becoming very, very popular nowadays. That means it is interconnecting all wearable devices over a body. Similarly, home area network is network formed by devices in a home, like our refrigerator or microwave oven or gate controller or webcam or maybe laptop, computers, different things belong to a home, which we call it a home area network. This is some sort of classification. Of course, LAN, we have seen what it is. Then these said they can be connected to hub LANs, one LAN here, another LAN here, another LAN. They can be connected to this thing hub, or they can be connected to switches or routers over larger area. When it comes to larger area, one system is here, another system is here, another system. Assume that they are on different cities, and these cities are connected to multiple routers, switches in between. So once, of course, using the switching, what is switching, how it works, we'll see that later as we discuss the subject. But they are all interconnected, they can go through this one. Okay, or they can be connected through modems. So using normal or telephone lines, this thing, a modem can be connected to computer, modem in turn goes through telephone network. This basically, we assume our plain old telephone system, or which are wired telephone system, old telephone system. And at the remote end again modem connected to network. So like this is connected. This ISP is actually network here, or it can be another computer also. So or a combination of all these things, you can see in the next thing. Combination of these, you can see here. And please, in case it is disconnected, time is expired, then again please log in. Go through it. Yeah. So here if you see connected, computer is connected through a modem to the network here, and whereas here LAN is connected to a network through a routers between, and here a star network is connected to here. This is a bus LAN, and whereas this is star is connected through routers to the switches. So they can each of them can communicate with each other. So you can imagine such a different types of networks interconnected to each other, so that they can communicate from anywhere to anywhere. Okay. Now, what is now all of us are familiar with internet, and in fact we are all using it. Even our present this class also going on through internet only. This I think you are familiar, right? Now let's see what is this internet and how it is evolved, when it started and how it is evolved to the present status. Let's see. So internet is network of networks. To define it, network of networks. That means there can be collaboration of more than thousands of networks interconnected each other. Okay, so you can imagine, and large number of networks belonging to different people. All of them are interconnected by some means. So then it becomes a overall single network from anybody to anybody can communicate, or any computer can be communicate. So that is called as the internet. Now all of us are using it, and it is originally started in 1960s by Department of Defense in USA. So that they called ARPANET, Advanced Research Project Agency Network. Okay. This originally they wanted to have a communication with institutions or organizations to whom they funded. Like many of these government agencies they fund these research institutions to do certain projects so that it will be useful for the country and society. So like our UGC, DSC, and the AICT, all these things fund the different colleges, institutions, this thing, right? So simply Department of Defense in USA was funding, and they wanted to have connection among those institutions whom they funded, so that they can communicate in a better way. Okay, so that's how ideas started. And in 1967, they formed a small network, and in 1969 it became a reality. So that reality has become in a 4-node network: University of California, and then University of Ottawa, and Stanford University, and there's one more, Defense Department, right? So these are centers interconnected. But of course, the computers are not directly connected. They are connected through another device called IMP, Intermediate Message Processor. Intermediate Message Processor. That means at each institution, all the computers are connected to IMP located there. This IMP is connected to another IMP located at another institute, like say California, University of California. The IMP is connected to IMP of SRI, that is Stanford University, Stanford Research Institute. So all the computers at Stanford Research Institute are connected to IMP located at Stanford Research Institute. So that's how they can communicate each other. That means that these computers are connected through IMPs, and the protocol followed is NCP, Network Control Protocol. So of course later the protocol was converted into TCP, renamed as TCP, Transmission Control Protocol. And then after that, that TCP was split into 2 parts, IP and TCP. IP is for Internet Working Protocol to handle the datagram routing. That means passing from one place to other place. And TCP is responsible for higher level functions. So this is split into TCP, but what is the actual meaning of this, we'll see in later units as we go into the subject. Okay. So the TCP is divided into 2 parts, TCP and IP. This is what in fact been being followed in some way in the present internet today. Okay. Now, so that's how this TCP IP has evolved. Okay, our internet is evolved, and present today's internet, how it looks like. Though it is network of networks, but in reality, how it is looking like, because it is divided into small different types of networks. They are all interconnected here, and these somebody has to administer or monitor this one, right? So that is the administrator is called service provider or internet service provider. Sometimes we call it ISP. Okay, ISP. So these ISPs are categorized again into different classes based on how much area, what is their function. So ISP local, they can be called as a local ISP who is directly providing service to end user. Okay, that we call it a. This is just for understanding purposes. This classification, please remember that. So there is no hard and fast rule of this classification, but just to understand the network overall. So we are explaining this one. So local ISP, local service, internet service provider. he can cover certain area. Similarly, there is another local ISP which can cover another small area. But if a user of this area want to communicate with user of this area, they are not directly connected. So you need somebody else to interconnect them. That there comes regional ISP. So these local ISPs are connected to regional ISP. Regional ISP can provide communication from one local ISP to another local ISP. Similarly, there can be multiple regions ISPs. These regional ISPs are connected through a national ISP. So that's how in any country you can have three-tier architecture: local ISP, regional ISP, and national ISP. But now coming to global level, these national ISPs have to be interconnected. They are interconnected through a backbone network. Here, this is the backbone. This backbone network, are you able to see now? Is there any problem? Hello?
No.
So,
No, sir.
yeah, okay. If there is a problem, please let me know immediately so that we can, yeah. Backbone network. The nodes on this backbone network are called NAPs, network access points, or sometimes they are also referred as POPs, point of presence. Okay. So through this backbone network and the network access points, these national ISPs are interconnected. So once the national ISPs are connected, of course, regional ISP and the local ISPs of that country, each country is connected, so that you can, from any user of one local ISP can be communicating or can reach any other user connected to another local ISP, maybe within the country, within the region, or other regions, other countries, other nations, wherever it is. So that's how the whole network can work. Now, we have seen the network, but how when you are going for a network, how the network is working. Okay, so whether it's working or not, we are satisfied or not. But if you say that network is working properly, and what are the criteria we take into account, all those things are important, right? So performance we measure by delay or throughput. Okay, so delay is end-to-end delay from source to destination. How much time it is taking to reach a message. Similarly, throughput. So how much accuracy is there? That means how much percentage of message you sent is reaching in the correct form to the receiver. So throughput, right? These are some of them. Similarly, reliability. How reliable that means network is. That means when you are using it, how frequently it fails. If it fails, how fast it is restored. MTBF, that's called as an MTBF, mean time between failures, and how frequently it is failing. Okay, and similarly, how accurately received or data either is corrected or not. Okay, so these are called reliability or robustness of the network. Okay, these are equally important. Similarly, security of the data is important. When you are sending data, it should be handed over to only the right person and without any corruption in between. So security of data is equally important in many cases. Okay. Now, from this, there are few other terms also you must know here.